everybody. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
How's it going? Trey and Josh, what's up?
Nothing much. Just actually left my other show.
So I was like, how are we going to do this? Because I know you are busy. You are a busy man with your shows and everything.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was interesting. I was like, this is cutting it close because we were finishing up with the song, and I was like, Jason, no. I was trying to give him signals like, got it. And so I just wrapped it up really quick.
And so I may be aging myself, but when you wanted to cut a song off when you were recording, you were trying to fade it out to it was almost towards the end, so you wouldn't catch the DJ coming on, interrupting your song.
Totally. Oh, that's right. Myself. You remember? I think. Well, no. I think Jaime talked to me about that because he would record songs from the radio, but he would cut out the DJs coming on to ruin the song pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, what up, Sheet Talkers? Welcome back to another episode of Sandy Talk Sheet. If y'all are new to my show, welcome. Josh, you are new to my show, so welcome. If y'all are my day ones, thanks again for stopping in. Today we have two guests, as you guys can see, DJ SNDFX and Josh. Thank you guys so much for being on. Jamie's going to hop in here. He's running a little late. He was at Subway, so he's running a little behind.
He should have gone to Jimmy John's. Sub So Fast You'll Freak.
Right, exactly. Hello. Thank you. We're not sponsored, but Jimmy John's, if you want to, holler. CPJ, she's like, hi, hotel. Are you on a murder chase?
I think she is.
Well, we're always on a murder chase, right? Are we on a murder chase?
I don't know. You tell me.
I guess we're going to find out, huh? Josh, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about you and why and how you became a crime junkie.
So I am from Kentucky. I'm a huge weirdo into all the nasty, gory stuff for some reason. Don't know why. Picked it up back when podcasts started to really kick off, probably about 5-6 years ago. I ran across one called Serial Killers. Got super into it. Still listen to it every Sunday. And I don't know why. It's just the way they tell the story that really. It's just something that clicked, and then it all uphill from there.
Awesome. And what was the name of the podcast you listened to?
Serial Killers.
Serial Killers. I don't guess I've heard that one.
It's pretty basic.
I'm just I'm all over the place when it comes to podcasts, and then there's some, I'm not going to be honest, that if you don't hook me in the first 3 to 4 seconds, kind of probably like my show, then I'm out.
No, I understand that. It's kind of hard to. There's some shows that I'm hooked on now that it took a while for them to kind of get off the ground, and it's like, okay, but you were in there from the beginning, and now they're really good, so it's worth it.
Right. DJ SNDFX, tell us a little bit about your name and how you and when you became a crime junkie.
Oh, well, yeah. So DJ SNDFX, it is not a stage name. It is a stage name, and I am an actual DJ, and I have quite a few gigs coming up in the summer here. But yeah, no, I honestly, the macabre and all that, I was interested in middle school. I forced myself to watch scary movies just because. I don't know why I did, but it just was it did something else to me. It made me uncomfortable, but that was okay because I was still safe. But then I got into later on in life, I got into horror narration and a lot of true crime and just scary stuff that goes on, and you don't have to make up the stories. You don't have to make them fictional because they're real, and that's what's even more terrifying. So I really just got into that and kind of stuck with it, and I even have a little side thing that I used to do and I kind of want to pick up, but it's about horror narration, so really involved into it, and I stuck with it.
So when you do this narration, is it somebody that sends you stuff, or is this you draw from real life experiences, or where do you get your stories?
My life isn't all that interesting. No, as far as the spooky and whatnot. My sister has a crazy story. It's a supernatural story. She sent me one, but yes, people send me stories and I will narrate them. And I find them from Reddit. I, obviously ask for permission, or I have people send them in to me. Anyone can send them in and I'll narrate it. As long as it's, typed up nice and neat and I can read it. So
Right.
But yeah,
It's grammatically correct, people. Don't
come
be
on.
saying any junk.
I'll have to sick Jaime on you.
Oh Lord. Oh, we're all in trouble here.
But yeah,
So
so
before we get started, please hit the like, the heart, the care, the share emojis, and don't be angry. Okay, don't come at us. Okay, keep that anger to yourself. But anyway, quick disclaimer because some of y'all be cray. The views and thoughts and opinions expressed in this show belong
oh my
solely
gosh.
to yours truly and not necessarily to my employer, organization, committee, or any other group or individual. As always, viewer listener discretion is advised. And you guys know I don't try to get into all the gory details just because, it's a bit much. These people are, already lived it. You're going to have to relive it. But today's show, it does get a titch graphic. I mean, there's an axe involved. What do you expect? I mean, I can only do so much. So anyway, So guys, when you hear the word axe murders, who is the first axe murderer, or which one do you think of first when you hear that?
What do you think, Josh?
Well, there's actually a few that come to mind, and I know
Okay.
me and you talked about it. So there's some that happened in New Orleans,
Yes.
and there are some that happen throughout a lot of the Midwest coast. There was a lot, and then I'm pretty sure the one that we're going to talk about today, the most famous, infamous, the Villisca, and that one definitely sticks out compared to all the rest.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you mine. So when I hear axe murders, I think Lizzie Borden. I don't know if y'all heard of Lizzie Borden. Lizzie Borden axed her dad and her stepmom, but she got acquitted on those murders, and so her house just sold for something in the millions, and now it's an Airbnb and all, or a B&B. I'm sorry, it's a bed and breakfast.
I'm good.
And
Count me out.
So you guys should totally go there if you feel like sleeping where people got axed.
I think I'm okay, honestly. I think I'm good. I don't know if I could, in good conscience, have a good night's rest in that house.
I'd sleep like a baby.
You said what?
I'd sleep like a baby.
Oh.
Wake up with a headache in the morning because Lizzie was
that or no head.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other guy, and this guy was a viral sensation, and I think he went by like Kai. He was a homeless guy. He went from like a hero to a zero in a matter of minutes.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
So this guy, really quickly, he's just like, he's somewhere, and some guy tells him, "Man, I just came back from somewhere overseas and he had raped a 14-year-old," and this guy's like, "What?" And this guy's like telling him, "Oh, I'm like Jesus," rams a guy in a car. So he grabs an axe or grabs something and just like is smash and talking about, "I hate this guy." So anyway, he saved a bunch of people that day. Well, fast forward, I don't know how many years later, this same guy ended up killing like an elderly gentleman, like 73 years old. Anyway, and that's who I think of too when I hear axe murder. So Lizzie Borden and this homeless guy that went from hero to zero. And I had the clip ready, but Mr. Pineapples is running late. We'll have to show that at a later time.
That is crazy.
CPJ says, "Well, I'm out with getting my writings read. Hieroglyphics over here with me."
Oh my gosh.
Carrie, whatever. Carrie has nice handwriting. And Joanne, hey Joanne, thanks for hopping on. She said, "Yep, me too, Sandy, but couldn't remember her name. But hey guys, yeah, Lizzie Borden. That's a whole nother show on old crazy Lizzie Borden. But anyway, today though, like Josh mentioned, we're bringing you a cold case, and that in my crime junkie certified opinion, it'll never be solved. This case is 109 years old, and I'm pretty sure that everyone that was involved in this case is long gone by now. Like if you thought you were going to get a deathbed confession or anything like that, it's too late. It's not going to happen. I mean, what do you guys think? You guys have heard this case. You guys, your opinion.
I'll let Josh go first.
Okay.
From what I can hypothesize, I guess, from what I know, I would say it's already been solved, but they weren't convicted.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it's hard to tell because there's several people obviously on the suspect list that I think could have done it, and we might need to rule them out tonight. But
Yes.
it's kind of up in the air. But I think Josh might be on a better track.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that too. So anyway, in honor of this cold case, crack a cold one, sit back and relax, and we're going to tell you all about the Villisca axe murders, okay? So this took place in Villisca, Iowa, June 9th, 1912. You have the Moore family that consisted of Josiah, who was 43, Sarah, who was 39, my age. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine being axed at this age. Herman, who was 11, Catherine, who was 10, Boyd, who was 7, Paula was 5, and there was two friends over, Lena Stillinger, who was 12, and Ina Stillinger, who was 8. So they'd all been at a children's end of year Sunday school program. Sarah was the co-director and the children had performed. After the program, they mingled until about 9:30 and they called the Stillinger house and said, "Hey, can the girls stay over? It's kind of late." And they were like, "Sure, no big deal." And so anyway, they walked home, had some cookies and milk and went to bed. I mean, just like an all-American, evening out.
Normal.
Everything was normal. So Villisca, if it's like 2,000 people at the most.
Yeah, I think it was 2,500 people.
Yeah, something like that. And it was like just all compact. I think they said it was like 2 square miles. So just, I mean, people will know if you tooted. I mean, that's how close and small this town was. Like they knew your business and you knew their business. So anyway, where was I? Okay, so between, I guess they think like midnight, because how long does it take you to fall asleep? Men will fall asleep instantly. The minute the pillow, the head hits the pillow, you're out.
It depends, but yes.
I mean, what was Josiah thinking about? Nothing.
Well, I don't know.
Mom,
possibly the affair that he had. But we'll get into that later.
We're going to get into that. Oh my gosh. So shortly after midnight, June 10th, a stranger or strangers, we don't know how many were involved.
Possibly.
I mean, could be 2, 3, 1. I mean, I don't know. Wielding an axe, not just any axe. It was Josiah's axe.
Yes.
They bludgeoned all 8 people in that house to death. Okay.
Yep.
And by 7:30 in the morning, these people hadn't gotten up, and their neighbor, Mary Peckham, God bless nosy neighbors. I mean, sometimes they get on your nerves. But if it hadn't have been for old Mary Peckham, I mean, they wouldn't have been out there as fast as they were. I mean, right?
Well, what's funny is like me, I don't get out of bed till like 8, 9 o'clock. So she's like worried at 7. Yeah. And so I'm like, man, they're up early. Like by 6 o'clock, they're up doing chores, and broad daylight's not even hit yet. Like,
yeah, exactly. So Mary's like, she doesn't notice the normal bustling that goes on over there. So she decides she's going to call Josiah's brother.
Yeah.
So Josiah gets over there about 8:30, and he goes over there and he's like, goes in because he's got an extra key, and he sees 2 figures in the back room covered up with their their sheets are over them, and there's blood. So he runs out of there, and he's like, and this I don't get, I guess, but he calls, I guess, Joe's store and has the employee call the marshal. Is that right? Did y'all read that? Did y'all hear that? Okay. And I don't get that. I'm not really understanding why that happened. But anyway, so the employee is the one who calls the marshal in. And so anyway, Hank is the marshal. So he gets there about 8:30. And he goes in, and he's quoted as saying, "Somebody is murdered in every bed." I mean, there's 8 people. I mean, that's wow. I just can't imagine.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, what was it? There is a dead body, or there's a body in every bed. I think
Yep.
is
Yeah.
what he was saying, and that, I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
And so this guy also, well, you're about to get to it, so I don't want to spoil it. Never mind.
No, go for
I'll
it.
let you say.
What were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say, like, he goes in, and so he goes to get help. I think he's gonna call one of the doctors,
Right.
and so he mentions it to a few townsfolk. And so with a population of, about 2,000 people, there's 100 people coming in to barge in to look at the bodies. Again, I don't know why. Morbid curiosity, I don't know. It's gross. But like, dude, you had one job. It could preserve the crime scene. Who knows what could have happened during that time? I don't know.
I'm with you, because when I read and I heard that, because I listened to a couple of podcasts and I also read a couple of articles, that I like to look all over the place. He said 100 curious. No. These are
No.
mofos. Nosy mofos. They're not curious. No. The curiosity killed the cat. No.
Curious was outside the house.
Yeah. So he said that the townspeople went through, okay, and someone even took a piece of Joe's skull. Did y'all read that?
Yep.
Josh told me about that.
Like, what is up? Why would you do that? I mean, okay.
Well, it's not the only terrible thing that happened either.
No, there's more.
Mhm.
So seriously, when I hear shit like that, I'm like, what is wrong with people? Like, why would you take a piece of the skull for what purpose?
What do you gain?
It's not like you could put it on eBay or something. I mean, like, what are you going to do?
The internet didn't exist.
Exactly. So Al Gore was not around. Just kidding. Bad joke. Okay. So anyway, the coroner was telling people, these people that were going in, he's like, don't go in there, boys. You'll regret it until the last day of your life. Did they listen? No, they didn't. He said, they all went in, they all did, they all trampled, they all touched things, fingerprints were everywhere. I mean, ruined the crime scene. Bad enough, we didn't have the forensics that we have now. So yeah, I mean, just totally ruined, trampled the crime scene.
Right.
I mean, that just blew me away. So, speaking on what Josh mentioned, some bizarre things that were found at the crime scene. I mean, other than the 8 people that were bludgeoned to death, there was some more bizarre things. There was a slab of
Apart
bacon.
from that.
Yeah, there was a slab of bacon, and depending on what you read in here, it was anywhere from 2 to 4 pounds, leaning against the wall with the axe, and that's random. Like, I was trying to think, like, when I was reading this, I'm like, is that like a satanic thing? Is bacon involved in some sort of ritual? Some sort of? Did y'all read? Do y'all know anything like that? I mean,
I think Josh might want to talk about this.
We kind of ruled that out from what I've read, is that they found it greasy. So it wasn't like you take bacon out of the pack and it's ready to go. No, they said it was, greasy. It didn't look like a normal piece of bacon, if that made sense.
I don't get it, Josh.
I'm trying not.
Why don't you elaborate, Josh?
I'm trying not to go there. I'm trying not to go there. Let's just say, okay, it was used as an artificial something, is the hypothesis that is what people led to believe why there was bacon just left out.
An artificial, like, penis?
No, the other one.
Oh, the other P word.
Yeah.
It was a downstairs kitty. Oh, really? Oh my.
Yeah.
Was that on Reddit?
No. This was like
it's
published.
documented. Yeah.
Because it was so greasy that they think that it was. I get, because when heat to bacon and releases fat, and then it was supposedly so saturated and so greasy that led them to that way of thinking. Yeah.
Basically, Yeah, I think they think he was going at it, and in a couple of the rooms. This was after the fact, I guess.
Yeah, so supposedly whoever did it specifically in the Sullinger girls' rooms because they were the only ones that were found with their dresses pulled up.
Yes.
Specifically, there was one with their dress pulled up, and her undergarments were tossed under the bed.
Right.
And then the other girl was positioned like on her side with her buttocks facing out. So they're thinking
really dark.
Yeah, it's messed up.
But what I read was that they didn't rape any of the girls.
Yeah, it was.
That's why the bacon was there.
Yeah.
So they raped the bacon.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think that this guy has some serious delusions. Like he was afraid that because I'm sure you know he covered every single piece of glass and mirror in the whole house, and that was like a rumor back then that souls and things like that could take you. So maybe he was under the impression that if he did this sinful thing, that I don't know. And that's kind of where I think that it was the Reverend because it kind of leads up to what he was preaching. But I'll hold off.
So let's go back to the bizarre things. So, we figured out what the damn bacon was for. Thank you. Bacon.
Sorry.
Thank you for clearing that up. So anyway, do we know if it was 2 pounds or 4 pounds? No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
Oh my God.
No. The murderer also covered up, like you mentioned, Josh, he covered up the mirrors in the house and the glass entry on the doors. And on the kitchen table was a bowl of uneaten food and a bowl of bloody water. So they think that he had washed off in that bowl of bloody water. And I don't know about the bowl of uneaten food. Like, did they come home and catch him trying to eat? Do y'all know about that? I've not had enough to drink to digest this.
I think Josh was saying the bloody pot that they found or the bowl was for whoever it was to clean themselves off. Cause you just killed 8 people. You have to have blood all over you. Which again, you'd think that there'd be more signs to somebody leaving something, but that was basically for them to clean off the food. I'm not entirely sure. But
from it feel like very let me see if I can say this
ritualistic
to you guys. Does that seem like what that was?
Not really, because it didn't see from the details I've heard. This guy went upstairs, downstairs, and then back upstairs. Like he did it multiple times to the parents. Yes. So that just seems like it was okay. I'm gonna go back up here and do it again. Like that doesn't seem like a part of a ritual type thing.
So we all know that everybody is bludgeoned, but what I read was that only Josiah was killed with the actual sharp part of the axe, and he was hit so hard that his eyeballs bulged out, and then at one point, I guess he lifted the axe up with such force that it gouged in the ceiling.
Yep.
And so you guys know, if you're a crime junkie, you know that when you see a brutal killing like this, it's where they said there was like hatred, like you're getting, it's a crime of passion, like passion. Not like it doesn't
emotions,
sexual passion. You know what I'm saying? And it's like someone's getting back at you for something. Like you've done something, you've wronged them in such a way. They're going to come back. He came back, to the entire family. So what had Josiah possibly done to make this guy hate him so much? So anyway, like I said before, in 1912, we didn't have much of a way in forensics. So simply put, there was no sign of the murder. I know that they thought that it was like some sort of transient because it was like was there trains that went through there? Did I read that correctly?
Yeah,
it was by a railroad track. Yeah.
By railroad tracks. Okay. So they thought that maybe it wasn't a transient. They said that bloodhounds were tried without any success. And it said that by sundown, there was not a dog to be bought in Villisca at any price. And so I was like, oh, y'all thought those cats were cute. Now you need some dogs, don't you? Mhm.
Yeah,
What does
I don't.
Kathleen do? Nothing.
Yeah, I think it was locks and guns. I mean, well, I think it was more doorknobs than any, or locks, and then they said what else sold out, Josh?
I would say just about everything.
Well, yeah,
Honestly.
because everyone was scared, right? I mean, but I wanted to touch something when you said ritualistic, Sandy, because, and we don't have to talk about it anymore after this, but there were several other axe murders around the nation at that time that matched this description, and an entire family
Right.
getting killed, and then the cloth being draped over the mirrors, and it being with obviously an axe. So with it being a ritual, I would have to say that there might be something there. There might be something there.
Yeah.
What's up,
There
Jaime?
must be something. You know what's there? I'll tell you what's there. It's like some crazies and loonies, and I mean that in the most professional way possible, because I don't even understand. Like, I've been listening to what y'all been saying, and I was reading just a little piece of it, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I can't do it. I'm like,
it's heinous, man.
did you all go and read any of this? Have you, like, I don't even feel like Sandy's really portraying it for the gruesomeness that it is. Maybe she
You
is.
don't have to do gruesome. You know, like
It's
that's why I'm going to tell you a little bit, but man, this is bad. I mean, an axe and people's heads connecting with the axe. It's not good. I mean, if you want me to get gruesome, I'll tell you what. He basically turned their heads into pulp. I mean, that was the description. Like there was nothing left there. That's how bad it was.
yeah. And the part, I always struggle when it comes to kids.
The
And
children,
so,
exactly.
oh my gosh, I'm like,
I mean,
are you
yeah.
serious here? Like, the whole family and then these little babies, and I'm just like, what is wrong with you? And I get it, to some people there's a disconnect, right? We've talked about countless people in this category here on your show, Sandy, and we've talked about people who do bad things to the children. And so but this is more, they would say things like this, like, are crimes of
people that do bad things to bacon. This is new to me.
I hear you. I'm
You
sorry.
know,
I'm sensitive.
you know how much
Yes.
I like bacon? I freaking love bacon.
Quite a bit.
I can't.
I'm just saying. When it comes to bacon, don't touch it. Leave it alone.
Don't
Um,
touch it with your hand. I mean, touch it with your hands if you watch.
yeah. So I'm just like, this is just bad. It's just bad. This is bad. And anyway, keep going, because
I don't know what we were talking about.
all I want to say is, like, when you do stuff to children, like, in my mind, like, how I feel like a lot of times when I've read stuff on this, like, people don't survive this. Like, people who do bad stuff to kids don't survive. Like, they off themselves or whatever. Like.
Well, it's one thing, Jaime, to kill a person in general, right? I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that was poorly timed or perfectly timed, but we're going to keep going. So it's very dark, right? The gumption, this, we don't even know if this was premeditated, right? We could have said it was a transient. But, signs are pointing to someone who this was meant to happen, that somebody planned this, but like, he offed 8 people. I mean, 6 kids and 2 adults. I mean, like, you took 8 lives in one night. Like, there's no way this is someone's first time. So it is very, very dark to think about, especially including children. So I'm on the same page.
So, and then another thing too is, okay, so when I'm doing my research, I try to just look at different points of view. So I turned on one podcast, and I think it was a Parcast production. But anyway, so he's telling a story, and he's talking about how basically it was like some sort of demonic, some like legion, and I'm like, oh, I'm out. Ain't messing with any of that. Not today. So I did.
She
not
said,
listen to that one. Yeah. And then there was a movie. Then it was like so bad. It's like, you were trying to avoid it, and then I thought, can I watch this? And it was just like, D list. Is there an F list of actors? I think that's what it was. Anyway, it's on Prime for $3.99. It's on Hulu for free. I mean, pick your poison. I didn't even finish watching it. It was bad. But the way the movie started out, they were touring the Velisca house. And I don't know if it's available for tour. Is it, Deanna?
It is.
It is. Yep. Okay. So they were touring this house, and the guy is a ghost hunter, and this hot girl tags along. It's just bad. But anyway, it basically made it seem like the guy that did this was also was possessed. And so that's, I guess, another theory that they were going with. And
well, I mean, crazier explanations have been there.
Yeah, and you had to have been possessed to do this, right?
Yes.
Beach vampire. So anyway, let's go to the list of suspects.
Yes.
Because this is what's really good, is this freaking list of suspects. Okay, so the first one is
Satan.
Huh?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to say
El
Satan.
Diablo?
Yeah.
Como que Diablo?
No. I mean, that's definitely up there. So Frank Jones, he was a local businessman, and he was also a state senator. So he was pissed because, was it his daughter that they said Josiah had an affair with?
I think so.
Daughter-in-law.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
The daughter-in-law. Okay. So they thought that Josiah had an affair. One thing said that it was not true, but then something else said it was true. What did y'all read on that?
Nothing. About the affair?
Uh-huh.
I mean, there was nothing that was ever really proven. But
right.
I think the competition and the competing businesses had more pull from anything.
So at one point, Josiah worked for Frank, and I guess built up his business. And then Josiah decided to pull and branch out and open up his own business. Well, he came after a very big account, the John Deere account. And so Josiah ended up taking that account from Frank. And so that's what they think fueled the anger. And you can totally see that, because at this point, you're reaching into somebody else's pocket, right? And money is a bit, I mean, you're pissing some people off, right? So anyway, he was never formally charged with the involvement, but he did become a subject of a grand jury investigation and prolonged campaign to prove his guilt, which destroyed his political career. So many townspeople were certain he used his considerable influence to have the case thrown out. I mean, I don't know. What was your take on Frank being guilty? Did y'all feel like Frank was the one?
I'd say he's a viable suspect, considering. So I don't want to get too deep into the story because there's a few people that we haven't talked about yet. But there were a lot of witnesses that the detective, who I'm sure we're going to talk about soon, brought in that seemed pretty credible. And at the same time, the stuff that Frank did seemed kind of sketchy to get the other convictions, acquitted.
I don't know. There's the next guy that we're going to talk about, and you mentioned him earlier, is oh my gosh, the Reverend. Was he a Reverend?
Yes.
Yeah. Which I don't know how that happened, but yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
right?
Yeah, and it's 1912, over 100 years ago. So, yeah.
So this guy's name was Lynn George Jacqueline Kelly, and he was an English immigrant, a preacher, and a known sexual deviant with well-recorded mental problems. Okay.
Hello. But don't worry, he's still a reverend. Don't worry.
He had been in town on the night of the murders and freely admitted that he had left on a dawn train just before the bodies were discovered. There were things that Kelly said that made him seem like a suspect, but I mean, the guy was only 5'2" and he weighed 110 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Here's the thing.
I mean, I'm pretty sure. Well, one, I have no clue how big of an axe it is, but I would say it's probably 6-7 pounds, if not more. But I would say anybody in a craze, you get that adrenaline.
Oh yeah, weight doesn't matter at that point.
And there's the theory of possession. I mean, because that could definitely make you strong enough, right? If you're possessed.
I mean, hypothetically, if the movies are to be believed, then I would say yes.
I personally don't believe he was possessed just by off of the things he said, because he quoted a lot that he was following a shadow figure and that led him to the house. And supposedly the shadow figure told him to slay utterly. And
He said utterly.
So yeah, he was quoting Ezekiel 9:6. If you don't know it, Google it. Basically says, slay utterly all maidens, all children. Nuts.
I got you.
Crazy scripture. But he took it out of context. And
For sure.
No one does that.
I actually have it open.
Go ahead.
Ezekiel 9:6, you said?
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, it says, slaughter the old men, the young men and women, the mothers and children, but do not touch anyone who has the mark. Begin at my sanctuary. So they began with the old men who were in front of the temple. Way out of context. So it's just like, obviously.
But is it really?
But like off of that, it's like, okay. Like
to him.
Sure. I mean, you can take any scripture and do whatever you want with it if it's out of context. So yeah.
So let's go to this guy, because he'd been obsessed with sex. He'd been caught peering into windows in Ballistica 2 days before the murder, right? And then in 1914, this was 2 years later, he would advertise for a girl stenographer to do confidential work. That ad in the Omaha World Herald, and would also specify that the successful candidate must be willing to pose as a model. What does a model and a stenographer have to do with each other?
Absolutely nothing.
I feel like there's so many things I could say, and I just should be quiet.
No, please tell me. Please help me to understand, because they help me to understand the bacon.
I think the thing here is like, so there's been some buzzwords, right? Like a lot of this, the main one being deviant. So I would consider his proclivities to be a little bit okay, but in that day and time, maybe he loved Sandy. Maybe he loved the sound that the stenographer would make, and so yes.
Stenographer machines sound like.
Right. So for those of y'all who don't know, Sandy and I both love like the loud keyboards that like click, 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 clink. And so it's
stenographer.
So now you understand. So
now I get it.
There you go. I give you that.
I get it.
I don't think that's it.
Yeah.
So a young woman named Jessamine Hodgson, she received in return a letter described by a judge so obscene, lewd, lascivious, and filthy as to be offensive to his honorable court and improper to be spread upon the record. So again, amongst the milder instructions, Kelly told Hodgson that she would be required to type in the nude. It's just more freeing.
The man knew what he wanted. That's all I can say. The man knew what he wanted, okay?
So he was he convicted? Was the preacher convicted? Y'all tell me.
Yes. Yeah, he got arrested for that.
He was tried.
They did a sting operation where there were detectives sending him letters back and forth posing as females.
Oh, that's right. So they did this. Okay, but I'm trying to think, because didn't he get acquitted though?
For the murders, yes, but he got convicted for that.
For the what?
For the letters through the mail.
Okay.
It was,
Gotcha.
I can't remember the charge. It was like sending something through the mail, which is I can't remember the name of the charge, but I know he got definitely
So he
convicted for
was
that.
charged with sexting.
Pretty much.
Right.
Basically.
Back in the day.
This was
He
sexting
invented it.
today.
So
wow.
down over here, CPJ saying, see, Sandy, you should stop running. The wicked run when no one is chasing them. So there's that.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, it depends on how I interpret that. Yes. And
So
I always say there's no rest for the wicked.
what's also weird is I read that he explained several things about the murder that no one else would have seen. How Sarah stood up woke up in her sleep to getting hit in the head, basically. Another one where he knew what time they were murdered. And Josh, do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, he was bragging to it on the train. He
Yeah.
was bragging about it on the train to some of the passengers while he was leaving the
Right.
city.
It's like, yeah, I was there when it happened, or like I was leaving when it happened, or whatever. I was like in that town.
Yeah.
And basically all kinds of crazy stuff. But even
That's my
on
point.
that, 110-pound man taking out an entire family and no one waking up to the sound of a hatchet.
Well, hold on. So Sandy has covered stories before where families were killed with shotguns, and maybe one of the family members woke up. But so here's the thing too, with the kids and some of the stories that I've understood from Sandy, like some of the kids saw what was going on because they were like, yeah, the kid woke up, they could tell the positions, all the stuff, but went back to their room or were dragged back to the room or whatever else. And so,
One of them woke up.
if someone woke up, if a child woke up, what would they do? Like, you'd run back to your room, close the door, and or you'd run to mom and dad, which is just come to the slaughter kind of thing.
So one of the cool theories I heard, which kind of, because I don't know if you all heard, but they found 2 smoked cigarette butts in the
Yes.
attic,
Yeah.
which is, if you've ever seen the video, it's extremely tiny and would be like perfect for a 5'2" guy to just get right in. The doctors that were there literally was no blood like out throughout the house other than the wash bowl where he washed off, and like
Mhm.
there, all the brain matter, all the tissue, all that was on the beds and then above the floorboards and on the walls. The theory is that he drugged their food so that they
I was gonna say that.
they stayed asleep and had a
Oh.
better chance of not waking up, and they think that he hid out to complete that.
Yeah. Or an alternative theory could be is Chupacabra came in afterwards and
Cleaned him up.
cleaned him
Okay,
up.
That's for a different show.
So on the attic theory, though, they said, or what I read or heard, was that there was boxes that blocked the entryway. So he had to be like super stealth mode to be able to climb in and out of the attic and move those boxes. Did y'all read the same thing?
Well, they were gone the whole day, so he could have, maneuvered it and made it easier for exit and entry, because they were at the church the whole day.
Right. And I guess being 5'2" and 110, I mean, you wouldn't have to move them very far. And if they had moved them, I mean, you come in sometimes, you don't notice, slight things.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know, with 6 kids running around the house, you're just going to be, tired or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got to remember, we think of that in today, yes, Sandy, we would. But 100 years ago, over 100 years ago, is that what would be the case? They weren't all
As far as
running
them
in,
being
so that
disciplined and whatnot.
and
Well-
people were, I won't say gullible, but most people, you get the idea that people kind of took people for their word around that time.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know. Were there any other people that were suspects?
Josh
Yeah. So
wreck his
there was
life.
There was there was 3 like big plausible ones, and then a few others that weren't really named. 3 big ones. You got the Reverend. You
Right.
have the other guy named Henry. No, I can't remember his first name, but everybody referred to him
Henry
as
Lee Moore.
Henry Lee Moore. Yes, he was another one, and Blackie Mansfield, which
Yep.
that was not his first name.
William
Mansfield. Yep. He. Fun fact: he got the name from a reporter who literally stole it from another murderer and just tied to his name and caused a bunch of controversy in the town. But yeah, those were the 3 big suspects.
And so, what was the third suspect?
Sorry, say again.
So, okay, so the other 2, they were they charged? I mean, was this the third one charged?
So William Mansfield was tried twice, acquitted twice. Henry Lee Moore was later convicted after he was, I believe it was in Missouri. He was found and convicted for killing his mother and I think it was his grandma.
His mother and grandmother. Yep.
And
several months after.
Yep, and he was sentenced to life for that. So he got caught. That they think that possibly he may have done it, but personally, I don't think it was him. It was just a similar. He killed him with axes. The other guy, the Blackie Mansfield, I think his story is like 50-50 between him and the Reverend because he had good motive, and
I can see that.
Only reason he got off is because he was able to produce a pay stub. Yeah. Which could have easily been,
fabricated,
written up by Frank Jones. Yeah, and that's where those witnesses that I was talking about come in, because supposedly there were quite a few people who saw Blackie Mansfield, Frank Jones, and another guy sitting out by the river by Joe's house talking, and they overheard this conversation. But it was acquitted because of that pay stub.
Yeah, I mean, because I could see like forging a document today would be a little bit difficult, but I mean, I think back in 1912, it wouldn't be. I mean, just write something down.
I don't imagine paper was just readily available everywhere.
But if you were Frank Jones, a state senator, and you paid somebody,
that could be it. Here's the thing. So I strongly think it's William Mansfield, Blackie Mansfield, because he was charged for the murder, get this, of his wife, infant child, father-in-law, and mother-in-law 2 years later.
I mean,
so he and it was with an axe, and so the thing is, it just matches up. Like it's a whole family. I don't think, I'm not sure. Josh, did he cover or what did their? Of course. Yep. Okay. So with it matching the mirrors being covered and in the way that they were killed and everything, I think it was him. Because it just matches up. I mean, it's an entire family. For whatever reason, I don't know if he was practicing in order to get his own family, which looks like the case. Yeah. But I just think it was him because he could have forged the documents easily, gotten out of town. But then again, like with the Reverend, it could have happened too because of the whole him fitting in the attic situation.
And he wasn't a very burly man himself either. If you look at a picture, if you look at a picture of him, he's not. If I had to guess, probably
he could have,
very well. To add on to that, I think that because from what I've heard, they supposedly Frank reached out to him to do this supposed hit,
right?
Like not necessarily right after Joe separated and went on his way, but a little bit after it, and it was determined that instead of him coming and do it right when he asked, because it would look too suspicious, they decided to hold off for a year, and then that's when he came and did it to try and take away, because Frank was like very political and was trying to get reelected consistently.
Right.
And he thought if they would basically it would make him a suspect too soon, and he was trying to prevent that.
Right. So let's go to Joanne's question. So Joanne is saying, what was the motive for these murders? Maybe I'm missing something here. We don't know what the motive was. There is no reason why these people should have died. There are a couple of maybe ideas why it happened, but that I know of, I didn't read anything on like a definitive motive as to why they were killed.
So you said earlier with Josiah possibly having an affair.
Right.
But other than that, and then I guess the money situation.
Right. And then taking the John Deere account from him. But I mean, does that add up to killing 8 people?
An entire family, yeah.
An entire family and 2 guests?
It could have been wrong place, wrong time, where it was, they put a hit on him and he's like, well, his entire family's here, they gotta go too. Whoever's in this house, they can't witness anything. Yeah.
So you're thinking, your line of thinking is that someone hired him to assassinate someone based on business dealings.
On business dealings at a
wouldn't be the first time.
Affair.
What?
Wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, I would say it's just a collection.
On what, Sandy?
On a possible affair. Josiah, they alleged that Josiah had an affair with his daughter-in-law, with Joe. What's that guy's name?
Frank.
You see what I'm missing? What I feel, Joanne, and I don't know if you're feeling this too, but one of the things I keep missing or feeling differently about here is it makes sense if it was 1980 and forward, 1970 and forward. It doesn't make sense in 1912. Not saying you're wrong, not saying your thoughts are not right or anything like that.
I was born in 1912.
I just feel like 1912, like that's just a different time. My imagery in my head of books that I've read and things like that, it just doesn't seem like these thoughts and ideas. It just seems way off. And like I said, I'm not saying y'all are wrong because I don't know either. But like when we talk about forgery, assassination, corporate espionage, murdering because of an affair, I don't associate those type of social constructs in 1912. That's not World War I hasn't even started.
But that's the thing. This is
why do you think it started?
I mean,
assassination. Literally.
Like this is just so bizarre. Like it's beyond explanation. Like I think when we come up with these theories, it's just grasping at straws because you want this family to have closure. Unfortunately, they're not going to have closure.
Right. I think CPJ, you might be right.
We need to interview Moses Joe from the other
We should, yeah. Yeah. You're right. And I get that there's not going to be closure. It hasn't had closure this long. And the farther you get away from it, the harder it is. And because the generational, the social economical generational gaps between then and here, it's hard to profile that type of that era. Like in my mind, at least right now, it's like I don't even know how to, because everything I've read, Jane Austen and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's like
not a history major. I wish I knew.
Yeah.
I think you got to take into account also John Deere was almost 100 years old at the time, like the company. So I guarantee they were way bigger than were leading on to I'm sure that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And
you might be right.
And from what I've, go ahead.
Money is one of the biggest, is a huge factor when it comes to murder. I mean, we've always said that money, greed, sex.
Money, greed, and sex. Yeah.
I mean,
or I guess money and greed are the same thing. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And supposedly the blood between these two were so bad that anytime they saw each other on the street, they would literally deviate from each other. Like it was.
See, and even in that sense, it makes sense. And I'm talking about purely from a psychological point at this point. it makes sense what you're saying. Then I could see a crime of passion, and not the good passion, but this boiling anger against the main,
That bacon.
the
Never mind.
patriarchal family, men. But to do that to the children too.
The one who brings home the bacon.
Oh my god.
I mean, I just.
Oh, God.
Maybe I'm just.
Oh my god!
Maybe it's like simple. Like you're never
Dang
bringing
it!
home the bacon again.
I'm
You
never
just
eating
never
bacon
know.
ever again.
Oh, I'm gonna eat bacon. Bacon's still good to me.
Oh.
I'll still eat it. I'll still eat bacon.
I'll tear it up for sure.
I bet you would. Ah!
They did. They left it on the wall.
Yeah, you give me a BLT any day. You can keep the lettuce and tomato, but
No. Oh my god. Anyway,
Anyway,
this is terrible.
Back to Villisca. I don't
this
know.
is. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go for it, Josh.
Sorry.
It was
Huh?
Jaime. It was.
Is
It
it
was
me?
Jaime. It was Jaime.
Oh.
Jaime was. Gosh,
All
Jaime,
I'm
spit it
saying
out.
is
Jeez.
this is so challenging because normally with your shows we have, except for the missing 411 that I can actively recall right now, we have had murderers and killers. And it may, from my perspective at least, huh? Yeah, so maybe closure, but more from my curiosity, more for the parts that pique my interest, is being able to get into some of these people's heads. Like with so many of them, the head trauma that they've experienced that caused them during their formative years, that they wires can get crossed. Like that's stuff that I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But here we have a crime with
a
no.
lot of head trauma.
8 head
Yes. So it's hard for me to take this in and be like, not to have someone to really hone in on, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and compare to the list of people that we've talked about on this show, because I do not like crime. I do not like. I don't think anyone likes crime, but you know what I mean. I don't like the topics that Sandy talks about here because it reminds me of how true humanity is. These are not stories that are. Yeah, these aren't stories. These are actual reality. This is reality we're dealing with, and so it's just like, man. But at least I can compare them to each other and be like, I can start fitting them in these boxes. And this one is kind of like, yeah.
This one does not fit in a box. Like
Mm-mm.
and that's the thing with these old cases. It just makes you. I mean, this town was one of those that didn't lock the doors, and this.
It's like Green Acres,
Yeah, this
Can you imagine Zsa Zsa going around murdering everyone? Joanne, you know what I'm talking about, right? You remember? I mean, not that was real, but I'm just saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, it's just, man.
So Joanne, hold on.
I got it
Gary
here.
says #baking drinking games. Edit. I mean,
You'd like that.
I mean, you have to drink.
Yeah. Joanne says, I question if their food was tampered with. Why kill the kids and wife if they won't wake up? I'm sure whoever was not considering the after effects of seeing dead people for these kids.
That's why I lean towards the Reverend.
I mean, I'm kind of, because like when I did, I was like, the Reverend, that freaking Reverend.
It's always the Reverend.
It always is. I mean, and that's who I thought more than anything.
Yeah.
He confessed to it twice. Like,
yeah, but wasn't it his lawyers that made him recant, right?
Well,
he was acquitted because when he showed up to court, he was like beaten and bruised, and they think
they took pity on him.
Yeah, the jury kind of they noticed that and they took that into effect.
They're thinking, well, because he was.
They were like they pressed him so hard that he confessed to it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, he, like Josh was saying, he showed up with bruises and whatnot. They thinking while they were interrogating him, they beat the mess out of him to try to get him to confess, or at least.
CPJ says, "Hey babe, Let's go fry some bacon. Code in front of others.
Hey, that'll be our next code.
I need like a sizzling soundboard next.
I think good closure for this heavy topic would be DJ Sound Effects singing "Woman, Whoa, Man" from "I Married an Ex." Stop.
I don't know. I mean,
these cases, I don't like that we don't have closure. I don't like that this person was still running around. I like the stupid criminals that leave shit behind and get caught.
Yeah, I agree.
I still think it was William Mansfield because, like I said, they almost are identical because the sheets were pulled over the heads. The entire family was murdered with an axe. The axe was wiped clean. Excuse me.
Is there bacon there?
Actually, I'm gonna double check.
Okay, please do, because if there's
Josh,
bacon,
do you know?
What was the question?
The bacon.
What about it?
Was there
bacon in the Mansfield murdering?
I want to say yes.
There is other cases.
There were other. I don't know if it was necessarily his family, but there were other ones where they did find bacon.
Okay, even if there was sausage, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it was.
There was ham. If it was ham, just like
if it was ham, if it was any other meats in there, it was Mansfield, and I'm changing my mind. If you tell me that it was Mansfield all the way, because I didn't see that.
I think if you take out Frank Jones and the detective that got hired to do this, Frank Jones was the rival of Josiah. And then the detective that they hired, which I don't think we really talked about him, they politicized this thing way too much. And it was literally just a show where they kept suing each other and starting rumors, and that literally politicized the whole thing. I think you take those two things out of the equation, someone definitely would have been convicted.
I think so too. So Joanne says the Reverend, I think, because they were delivering a soul from evil. See, I mean, Joanne has a point, and there was some evil shit going on. There has to have been. You just don't go around killing because you feel saintly. I mean, right?
Wait, is she saying that she thinks the Reverend
killed the family because of evil? Because
the family was evil?
Joanne, clarify.
I mean, she's kind of onto something though too, because he did. I mean, that's where his passage supposedly and what's crazy is this guy was there on a retreat from another church. He was literally staying with another reverend, like watching, learning, and he was literally at their house when he left, and he said a shadow figure led him to their house.
Because how else do you disclose? But I do know that some of the stuff that he did tell to other people, it wasn't quite accurate, but a lot of stuff too, it hadn't been disclosed to the public. So how did he know that?
There was one bit where like he had said that there was a group of people that had done it, and that there was some people walking by the house, and that they walked outside to stop what they were doing just as they were passing by, and they went back in to finish what they were doing. I don't know. This is what he saw.
Yeah. And another thing to think about, that I don't know if you read about this either, but this town was way ahead of its time for 1912. Phone lines, street lamps, all that. Don't know if you heard the street lamp story, but this town had street lamps. So they had street lamps, and supposedly the city council and then the guy or the company who was running the street lamps, they were fighting that day.
Yes. Okay, now I'm with you.
So this guy says, well, I'm not lighting the street lamps. He didn't light the street lamps. So they had night watchmen. And supposedly, from what was recounted, our night watchmen saw a guy headed that way. And the two night watchmen were talking to each other and decided not to intervene because they couldn't see him. But had the lights been on, they would have probably stopped him.
I mean, what Joanne said, mountain oysters.
What? Oh no.
And all this did for me, the Velisca axe murders, all it did was just open up basically a can of worms. Like I don't know where to go with it. Everything else that I've done, minus the missing 411, and that's aliens. But other than I don't know where to go from here. Like I don't have closure. I don't. It's just
So join us next week as we cover something that will have closure, everyone. And if you can, remember to comment on Sandy's run tomorrow. That's how he closes, Sandy.
Anyway, I'm running on Saturday morning. I am currently in Fort Worth right now. I am carb loading at the moment. So that's what that's
You're doing what?
carb loading.
Eric, what's she doing?
What am I doing? Oh, he's got his earbuds in. Are those yours or mine? No, put earwax on my
Is
phone.
he what? I think he's watching you right now, isn't he? He's listening to
No,
us.
he's not. He's over. He's on TikTok, I'm sure he's over there on TikTok. Anyway,
Oh, okay.
okay. I don't know what sheet I'll be talking next because this sheet is disturbing right here. 8 people died and we don't know who done it. I mean, basically, it's disturbing. Josh, why'd you come up with this? It's upsetting me now that I think about it.
It's interesting.
It is.
Is it though? Really?
It is. Okay, don't get me wrong. Loss of life in any instance is never good. But
Oh, we're past that. We're talking about closure.
I feel like if you were murdered in this way, would you honestly just want people to up and forget that it ever happened? So I feel if we talk about it in some sense of a form, that in some way we're keeping those people in mind and letting them know that you may have not necessarily died in vain. What was done to you is wrong, terrible, and it's a way I feel of compassion somewhat, because it would be terrible to just say, yeah, they died and that's it.
I mean, that's
Sorry, that was just really beautiful. So.
Joanne says yes in a way because he saw evil in the father, and my way of thinking is he thought they are also tainted, so deliver them from sin.
That's one way to do it. Oh wait.
I mean, hell delivery. I mean, I don't know.
Here, I help you. I help.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna tell you right
She's
now.
about to fry bacon with excess. Oh gosh. Oh gosh.
Anywho.
I missed that comment. Long time listener, first time commenter.
Yeah, exactly. All right, kids. This sheet was disturbing.
Yeah.
There's nowhere other to go than that. I wish I had some answers for you. I don't. I have more questions than I do answers. Bigger heart than bacon.
CPJ says host of the day goes to Josh. Hashtag bigger heart than bacon.
Oh god.
It's anywhere from 2 to 4 pounds. We're not really sure.
What, bacon or the heart?
Josh, Trey, thank you guys so much for being on here. Velisca.
Of course.
I mean, I don't even know what to say about it. Let's think of some more topics for next Thursday. Saturday, I'm running, hoping to finish a 10K. It's my first race in over a year.
Oh, wow.
I should not be drinking today, but that's okay. I celebrate before I run. So there's that. Okay.
Pre-gaming.
Pre-gaming. I should never pre-game. I act like I didn't learn in Vegas. Anyway, whatever.
Oh my
Everybody, if you have a topic, holler at me. Let's talk about it. And if you want to be a guest, let's do this. And everybody have a good night. And let's keep talking sheet. Oh, keep going. Thank you so much. And then that was so fast.
Oh, you want me to?